In this video, we're going to cover questions 11 through 14, and I'm going to show you how to craft a response to these job interview questions so it fits you and only you, and no one else can use it. Well, this is part 3, the final part of the 3-part series. So let's do a quick recap of questions 6 through 10. So remember, what is your greatest professional achievement? Remember, I said sometimes you got to ask people to help you with this because you're too close to the situation. 7, what challenges at work did you have? Remember, I said we can swap out challenges for problems. You can use PAR, P-A-R, problem, action, results, or C-A-R, CAR, challenge, action, results. Talk about a problem or challenge. What actions did you take? What results did you get? Results can be negative or positive. If it's negative, just make sure you demonstrate that you learned from your experience. That's it. Not a big deal. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Be very specific in the job that you want, the role or roles, no more than 2, and what type of responsibility you want, and then how it's going to benefit the company from having you in that role. And that all comes from your homework, your research, okay? So if you did your homework, you did your research, you should be able to answer that question with no problem. Number 9, why are you leaving your current job? It could be, why did you leave your current job? But remember, nothing negative. If you had a job that you really couldn't stand, then frame it in a way where you focus on the positives of what you would like to see in your future role, and don't play to the negative aspects of your past role. And finally, what are you looking for in a new position? And tell them what you're looking for in a new position. Just tell them honestly what you're looking for, because they want to know why you want to work for them. So just tell them. Notice how that ties back into the question in part 1. Why do you want to work for us? So all of these answers are interconnected. And if you do your homework, you do your research, you know the job, you know the company, you know the industry, you know the competition, this is going to become easier and easier for you. Trust me on this, because you did your homework. You prepared. So now you can handle whatever's thrown at you. Trust me, it's going to get easier. So let's get to this next question. How would your boss describe you? Oh, buddy. Here's the kicker. What you both say should match. This means you have to have a good relationship with the people on the job. If you're left on bad terms, ouch. Contact the old supervisor and see if they will provide a good reference for you. Now, you will not know until you ask. If not, you can use a coworker or another supervisor. Here's the catch. Remember when I said, do not bring up anything negative about your previous job? And I also mentioned prior to that, if you leave quietly, leave on good terms. This is the reason why. I'm not quite understanding how people don't see this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because it just needs to be said. You need to see the connection. You have a job. You hate the job. You don't like the job. Whatever. You leave on bad terms. You say something, you do something that you really shouldn't say or do. Then you go look for a new job. Every new job that I'm aware of is going to ask you for your previous employer, previous supervisor, email address, and or phone number. If you left on bad terms, what do you think they are going to say? You just burned the bridge and you possibly ruined an opportunity to get another job. So, my suggestion to you is you need to learn how to control yourself. You need to stay professional, even though you don't want to. And you need to leave quietly. Now, I get it. I had a boss from hell. I get it. He got on my nerves. For 2 years, he got on my nerves. It took everything in me not to put my hands on this person. But I left. And do you know when I left, he gave me a bad reference. And when they told me, you sure you want to use this person? They gave you a bad reference. I said, impossible. Impossible. I was a great worker. Call the HR person. I gave them the HR person name. They called the HR person. She said the same thing. Impossible. No way. Not Sean. Impossible. He's a great worker. And she proceeded to break down why she felt I was a great worker. And she said, trust me, Sean is not the problem. This person is the problem, and we're dealing with him. So, when I say that what you say and what your supervisor say, or whomever you use as a reference, what y'all say should match, it should match. Now, I just gave you a tip. You probably overlooked it. I'm going to help you out. You should always network within your company. The other supervisors, the other managers, vice presidents, whomever, network. Because if I had not developed a relationship with the person in HR, I would have gotten a bad reference, and I know I wouldn't have gotten the job that I got at that time. But I already knew who he was. So I already established relationships to go around him if I needed to. And unfortunately, I had to go around him. And that's okay. I can't control what people think, do, or say. But I can control who I have access to, and so can you. So please, when they ask you how would your boss describe you, you make sure your boss says good things about you. And if you happen to leave on bad terms, let me tell you what I instructed someone to do. I was in a training class, and the guy was like, man, this dude is not going to give me a good reference. I said, yes, he will. He said, no, he won't. I said, yes, he will. He was like, how do you know? I said, because the way I'm going to say it to you is the way you're going to say it to him. And so I specifically told him, call him and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Now, you and I could both agree that the way it ended wasn't right, and I was wrong. But up until that point, would you agree I was a good worker? I said, if he says yes, then you ask him, could we please just not talk about what happened? When it got bad, you just focus on the good stuff so I can get this job. And he said, a couple of seconds, the guy said, okay, that's fair enough, because you actually was a good worker up until that point. And so when they called him, he didn't mention any of the bad stuff. He talked about all the good stuff he did up to that point. And the guy was shocked. He was like, whoa, he actually helped me. I said, yeah. I said, because it's how you frame it. It's how you phrase it. I said, and you took responsibility for being a knucklehead. I said, so don't do that again. He's like, I won't. I promise I won't. And as far as I know, he didn't after that. So if you left on bad terms, pick up the phone, humble yourself, call. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed what people will do. I'm telling you, you never know until you ask. Why did you change career paths? So you're probably changing jobs, right? But what if you're in a specific industry, in a specific role, and then you realize, man, I'm done in finance. I want to go into teaching. What? So there are many reasons why you change career paths. Many reasons. I'm just going to give you a couple of them. Okay? You got laid off or downsized. And this was huge when COVID, because so many people got let go. And oh my goodness, it was bad. I was blessed, very fortunate that I had a company that allowed us to go remote, and we was able to do everything remote for 2 years. but some people weren't. And the number one question I would always get is, oh, nobody's going to hire me because I only got experience in this. And I had to explain to people, look, a company wants to see that you're a worker. Yeah, it may be a different industry. You can explain that. I got downside. I got laid off. I got mouths to feed. I got bills to pay. And I'm a worker. I'm not sitting home not working. So I went out and I did this job. And it carried me until I saw this role with your company. I said, oh, this is a great fit for me. And then you start going into your spiel. You start talking about your research and why you're the best person for the job. So sometimes you get laid off at downsize. Trust me, I know. The company goes out of business. Oh, geez, that happened again. Okay, over COVID. No growth in the current career, and now you're interested in another field, another area. That happens all the time. Trust me, it does. It's not a bad thing. Life situations, okay? Divorce, death in the family, sickness. Maybe you're someone who worked in a high-stressed environment, and now your doctor's like, look, you can't handle any more stress. You need to relax. This job is stressing you out. You need to stop working here. So you need to make a change. Why? Because you want to live, right? Okay. So now you don't tell the people, oh, you changing because of your health, but you tell them, I need a job that's not as stressful as this job. Because it's a ton of stress and I know what it can do to my body if I continue at that pace in that role. So I'm deciding my health and my peace of mind is more important. So I want to transition now before it has a negative impact on my body. I just literally made that up. It wasn't anything planned. But explain why you're changing career path. Just explain it. It's okay. It's not a big deal. Then we get to the question most people hate. Oh my goodness. There is so much tension when it comes to this question. What are your salary requirements? So here's the thing. And this is important. You have to know what you need to cover your expenses. You have to know what you need to cover your expenses. What do I mean? You need to add up all of your expenses monthly, and you need to say, okay, these are all the bills that I have. This is the total amount of all the bills that I have. Then you have to figure out a salary that you need to cover those expenses. You need the monthly, you need the yearly, and you need to break it down by hourly. Why do I have to do that? You're not listening. You need to know how much is going out every month, okay? You need that. The reason why you need yearly and hourly is because some people pay you a salary based on an annual amount, and some people pay you hourly, right? So you have to know what that rate is for you. Okay, that's important. Then you got to know what job is paying in the industry you want to work in. What is it paying? What is it paying? Each industry is different. If the job you want cannot pay you enough to cover your expenses, you're going to have a problem. A big problem. And so you're going to have to figure out how to make up that extra money. Now, I can't go into details how to do that in this particular video, but there are ways to do that. Possible overtime. You honestly don't want a second job. If you can get overtime in your current role, that's better. Less travel time, less stress on your body. One location makes it a lot easier for you if you can get that. Okay. Then once you have the annual salaries, okay, even if it's hourly, figure it out. And then if you say, just for example, I need $50,000 a year. You're going to add another 10 to 15. I'm going to lean towards the 15,000. So instead of 50,000, I need 65,000 a year. If you need 75, I need 90,000 a year. If you need 90, I need 105,000 a year. And the reason why I'm telling you to go up is because it's easier to negotiate down than to negotiate up. Now, you're probably looking at me like, man, are you crazy? I am not asking for 10 or 15,000. Okay. let me share a story with you, and hopefully this will wake your behind up. I had two people in my training class. They both went for the same job. They both came back after the interview. They both got the job. So I said, so usually at the end of the class, end of the day, I say, hey, did anybody get a job? I just, want to celebrate you before you go home. So one guy raised his hand. He said, hey, Mr. Nelson, I did what you said, man. I got that job. They're paying me $10 an hour. I said, congratulations. That's $2 more than what you got paid before. Then the other guy said, yeah, Mr. Nelson, I did what you said too. And I got $18 an hour. So the guy that got 10 looked at him. He said, wait, you went to the same job I went to. How you get 18? I only got 10. He said, oh, I did what Mr. Nelson said. I asked for more. And we negotiated, and I ended up, he said, I asked for 22. We came down to 18. That was $3 more than what I was willing to accept. I'm good. And the other gentleman looked at him. He's like, man, I said, y'all was in the same class. I told you, ask for more. You didn't. You settled. You got $8 less. You can't renegotiate now. It's a done deal. He was pissed. But you also have to factor in taxes. So this is why you ask for more. Okay? I'm not telling you to ask for more just to ask for more. You're going to get taxed. So ask for more money. It's okay. It's okay. They got it. They can pay it. Trust me. And if you need to look up the salary, go to Indeed.com/salary, Simply Hired, Glassdoor, LinkedIn. There's a Payscale.com, I think it is. There's a bunch of sites you can go to check out the different salaries. But you need to know for your role and for the experience that you bring to the table, what you should be expecting in salary. So now, you can also base your salary on how much money you will generate for the company. This is something you might not have heard. Maybe you haven't been exposed to this method, but let me show you how it works. Because this is something you need to know. So you might say, in my last job, I generated over $400,000 for the company when I was expected to produce $150,000. I figured a salary of $95,000 is fair considering I would generate at least $400,000 for you too. Now, remember I said what you say has to match with what your previous supervisor says or manager says? So if your manager repeats exactly what's said here, then guess what? You're a solid candidate. Man, you made an extra $250K? I'll pay you $95. So you can come up with your own example. Just really think about how you had a positive impact on the company's bottom line. Okay, I had one job. I generated for them about $50,000 a month. Yeah, it was about $50,000 a month. The whole time I was with them, well, look, $50,000 a month, 10 months, okay? That's a lot of money. How much is that? $500,000 for 10 months. So that was $600,000 a year. I was there for a minute. I ain't gonna specify how long I was at that job. But at $600,000 a year, at bare minimum, 7 years, I'll be very generous. I think I generated a ton of money for them. They didn't pay me nearly as much as they should have. I was okay. Because what I didn't get paid for in money, I got paid for in other ways. And this is how I'm able to help you now. I was in the trenches. I was documenting everything, notating everything, every strategy, tactic that I was telling people to use. They would come back and give me feedback. I would go, oh, that worked for you too? Okay. Oh, that worked for you too? Okay. Because I know it worked for me. And people kept getting results. And I know, yeah, this works. Okay. And that's what I'm sharing with you now. What works? What's been tested? This is not theory. This is in the trenches stuff. It's been applied already. Final question. Do you have any questions? Because most interviews is going to end with this. Do you have any questions for me? Always have questions. Please. Always have questions. I'm going to give you a couple just to jumpstart your brain. But always have questions. You always want to ask the person who's interviewing you, why did you choose to work with this company? Or why did you choose to stay with this company? Or you can say, how long have you been with this company? And they're going to tell you, say, oh, so why did you choose to stay here? Because you want insider knowledge. You want to know what's keeping them there. What do they find attractive about this company that's keeping them working there for so long? So, I gave you an extra question. How long did you work here? And then why did you still choose to stay? Okay, double question. Then you say, this is important, and I'm going to say it. What criteria will be used to evaluate the individual who gets this job? Oh my goodness, man. Whew, I got to be careful with this one because I can go on a rant for 30 minutes on this one. So the reason why this question is so important, I have witnessed people who are good workers, do a good job, who still lost their job. How is that possible? Wait a minute. That don't make sense. It does when you hear what I'm about to say. Whoever is supervising you is looking for specific things from you. You need to know what they are. Because you can go off to do something that's good and it's part of your responsibility, but it's not important to your supervisor or manager. Therefore, they don't see what they need to see, and they feel you're not a good fit, you're not a good candidate, so they let you go. Remember, you're on probation the first couple of months, for some places 6 months and a year, so at any time, the company can let you go. At any time, you can leave. So you need to know how you're going to be evaluated. Who is doing it, and what are they looking for? I had a manager, and I asked him, what do you want from me? Second day at a new site. Not the company, just a new site. What are you looking from me? I need to know what you want from me. They gave me 3 things. The entire time I was there, I gave them all 3 things. Hell, they didn't like me, but that's okay. I still gave them the 3 things. It's okay. That's another story, and I'm not sharing it with you. So, do you offer additional training? Ooh, do you offer additional training? See, I don't know where you are, okay? But I'm telling you, my entire career, this question was what I needed to know. I'm a learner. I love to learn. I love to grow. So if they're not offering additional training, I don't know if this is the company for me. That's just how I felt. But I like to know what trainings are offered. Okay, let me give you another example. Let's say you're with a company and they have specific trainings and they don't necessarily fit what you do, but the training is offered. And let's say you take that training, a couple of trainings, and then a year or 2 down the line, you get laid off, you get downsized. And you go looking for a job, and you go, oh, wait a minute, I took this training. Yeah, okay. And you put that on your resume. Somebody calls you, they go, oh, you know how to do this? Yeah, I know how to do that. Where did you get that training? Oh, when I was working here, it was available. I was interested, so I took it. Man, that's interesting. Tell me more about that training. And now you're interviewing for a role you really don't have any experience with, but because you have that training and you showed an interest in it, they want to have a conversation with you. So it's opening doors for you. That training is opening doors for you where that door may not have opened. So I'm going to highly recommend that when you ask this question, if you get a job where they offer additional training, take it. Just take it. It's free, right? Take it. You never know how it's going to work in your favor. Another question. How did this position open up? Why are you asking this question? You want to know if it was due to a layoff, someone got fired, a company is growing, a promotion, etc. You just want to know the reason. You just want to know the reason. It's beautiful when you hear, oh, we're growing and we just had to create this new position, or the person who worked here got promoted. They're actually going to train you for a week or 2 and they're going to move on to their new role. Like, what that's saying to you is, oh, there's room for growth. There is room for growth. That's why I didn't tell you to ask, is there any room for growth? No. If you ask this question, you're going to learn if there's room for growth. There's some companies, there is no room to grow. Whatever job you get, that's it. They'll give you a little pay increase every year, if that. Okay. Where do you see the company 5 years from now? It's an interesting question. Where do you see the company 5 years from now? I actually had an interview a couple of years ago. Oh man, like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And I asked the person where they see the company in 5 years. They couldn't answer it. It was a smaller business. And that let me know they're not going to be around for long. Ironically, 1 year after I had the interview, the company shut down. Because I could tell. I was like, they're not going to be around for a while. So I always ask this question. What will be the expectations for the first 90 days for the individual that you hire? So think about what you're asking. How am I going to be evaluated? Who's doing the evaluation? And then what are the expectations for the first 90 days? Why? Because you just need to know. You just need to know. If you don't know, and then they go, well, this is not working out. What do you mean it's not working out? I thought this was working. I thought I was doing a good job. No, you wasn't. Because you didn't ask the right questions. Okay, so you got to ask the right questions. So now we get to the 14 question recap. So question 1 was tell me about yourself. Question 2 was what have you been doing since? Question 3 was why should we hire you? Question 4 was why do you want this job? Question 5 is what do you know about us? Okay. Question 6, what is your greatest professional achievement? Question 7, what challenges at work did you have? Question 8, where do you see yourself 5 years? Question 9, why are you leaving your current job? Question 10, what are you looking for in a new position? Question 11, how would your boss describe you? Question 12, did you change? Why did you change or are you changing careers? Question 13, what are your salary requirements? And question 14, do you have any questions? Now, where to go from here? I'm going to spend a little time here, so be patient with me because this is important. You must spend some time with your resume. Now, what do I mean by spend some time with your resume? Here's what I mean. I'm not going to say most, a lot of people pay someone to do their resume. Fine, because that's not your area of expertise, and I get it. But you have to be involved in that process. You can't just hand over your life to someone else and expect them to know everything you know. So what I mean by spend time, you should create your resume first. Then give it to someone else to fix it. How much time? You're probably going to spend somewhere between 10 and 15 hours with your resume over a 2-week period. Just so you know. 1 hour a day. Sounds like a lot, right? The answers you give to the interviewer and to the interview questions will generally come from your resume and your experience. So if you spend time with your resume, you're going to know what's on it. You're going to recall things from your experience quicker because you worked with your resume. And then you will add more details when answering questions because you worked on that resume. And because you worked on it, it's fresh in your mind. And because it's fresh in your mind, the details are there. But here's the kicker. And this is the real reason why you should spend time with your resume. You must be able to talk about your experience without looking at your resume. Now, what does that mean? I'm going to give you specific details. That means that when someone looks at your resume, oh, I see you worked at such and such. The moment they mention the company, You need to know every bullet point under that company, what was mentioned. Why? Because they're going to ask you specific questions from what you have on that piece of paper. You need to know what's on that piece of paper. And the only way that's going to happen is if you spend time with your resume. Bottom line. Like I said, 10 to 15 hours over a 2-week period. Where do you go from here? You must be confident in your presentation. Where does that come from? Spending time with your resume. You must come across as someone who knows what they are doing. Where does that come from? Spending time with your resume. You must get that job so you can start getting a paycheck. Where does that come from? Spending time with your resume. How do you answer these interview questions? Spending time with your resume. Answering the questions, the 14 questions we went through. Writing the answers down that I asked you to do. And ultimately, you have more control over the outcome than you think. Way more control. How do I know that? This is simple but powerful. Every question that is asked of you for a job interview comes from your experience. Every question they ask you, your answer is coming from your experience. Your resume represents your experience. The questions that I've asked you, the 14 questions, all you need to do is pull from your experience. If you do that, nobody can ever steal your answer because it's based on your experience. So now, here's what I want you to do. Here's your action steps. Number 1, write down the questions from 11 through 14 on the same list where you have questions 1 through 10 and answer the question 11, 12, 13, and 14. Don't be hard on yourself. Just answer it. Once you answer all the questions, I want you to pull out your resume. It's the second action step. Once you answer all 14, doesn't have to be perfect answers. Just answer them the way you would answer them right now. Pull out your resume. Go back to part 1, watch part 2 and part 3. Go through each question. And now look at your resume. Look at what you wrote. And ask yourself, based on my resume, how can I improve this answer? And then you revise that answer for each question. Let's say you look at your resume and you can't revise the answer. Don't worry about it. Go back to the video on YouTube and underneath type your question. Hey, I need help with this. Could you help me with this? And just tell us what you need help with. And we'll make sure we point you in the right direction so you can get moving on the answers you need to write for one of those questions if you're having problems with it. Now, I get it. This is a lot of work. But I'm going to tell you from firsthand experience, people who have followed exactly what I just showed you, I get, do I really want to say this? Okay. I get emails all the time from people who just say, thank you. Thank you so much. Because I thought this was just silly and stupid and crazy. But I did what you said because I trusted you. And I saw you were sincere in trying to help us back then. So I just did it. And to this day, I still use exactly what you told me to do, and it still works. I was like, thank you. I'm just glad you applied it. This is why at the end of every video, I'll give you action steps, because I really want you to take action. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm not even asking you to do it fast. I just need you to start moving towards the direction you say you want to go in. You want to ace these job interviews? You need to prepare. Bottom line, there is no quick way to get around it. You can't take an answer from online and think it's going to be sufficient for you. It will not. You need to create your own answers, because guess what? Once you create them, they're yours. Nobody can steal them. They're personalized, tailored to you. And that's what I want you to understand. That was my promise. Remember in the beginning? It's right there on the screen. Give unique answers that no one can use but you. And I showed you how to do that. And I hope and pray that you rewatch this and keep rewatching it, because you're going to pick up on a nuance. This is going to sound crazy, but this is the basic stuff. There's intermediate stuff. There's advanced stuff. This is just the basic stuff. And I only focus on the basics. I rarely ever take anybody towards intermediate, because you honestly don't need it. I've been using basic, fundamental strategies for over 35 years, and they haven't failed me yet. They have not failed me. These strategies that I'm going to be sharing with you, this is just the beginning of it. There's a ton of stuff coming for you. But this strategy here, I've been using it for over 35 years. It has kept food on the table for my family. I could lose a job. It's okay. I'll get another one. It doesn't matter. I know how to interview. I'm not concerned about getting jobs. I'm not concerned about acing job interviews. That will never be a concern, because I know this works. And I want you to get to the point where you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this works. But the only way that's going to happen is you're going to have to apply it. You're going to have to take some action. You do that, and I promise you, you're going to be pleasantly surprised by what happens. So answer all 14 questions, take out your resume, go through it again, and see how pulling from your resume is going to help you to refine your answers to each one of those questions. Number 14, you probably don't have to do, because I gave you some questions that you can ask. Do you have any questions for me or for us? So don't worry about 14. That's the easy one. But all the other ones, answer them. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care of yourself.